Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now, post a new video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form, or you just want to give this channel some love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing, can asexuals who don't experience any sexual attraction find someone hot? You know, and why would they find someone hot if they don't experience sexual attraction? This is something that came up as a result of a conversation I had with someone who saw one of my posts to do with my last video. First of all, if you don't know who I am Sandra Burmy. I'm an asexuality coach. I specialise in dating and relationships, and I'm also the author of this Asexual Perspectives book, which was 47 different asexual stories, including my own, to celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. And actually, in the last few hours, I've been working back on the Asexual Guide to Sex book again. So this is incredible. I've started work back on that, and I'm on a mission to finish that off in the next few months and get it published before Christmas. So that's going to be absolutely amazing and help a ton of people. Yes, if you saw yesterday's video, I was reminiscing about what happened on Sunday when I met up with my best asexual friend in London. We had an absolute blast. We went to the Disney store, had an incredible time there. I had a really great time eating out in Nando's. There's a parade going on. And when I was going to the toilet on the train, there was a guy wearing a mask and he looked absolutely beautiful to me. And I said, even with a mask on, and I put in a post on Facebook that there's a really hot foreign guy on the train on the way to the toilet, basically. And so one of my asexual friends who watches this channel, hello to you, he asked me previously in an asexual meetup, he asked me, so if you find someone hot, then doesn't that mean to say you're grey asexual? And he asked me again the same thing, and I will reply again the same thing I replied. But I think it's important this, because a lot of people don't understand that asexuals are all different, right? There is no two people who are the same. We all experience different things differently, right? There are some asexuals that have certain things that are similar or the same, right? But I am a heteromantic asexual. I'm not a textbook grey A. So an actual grey asexual, if you look at the current definition, is basically someone who experiences sexual attraction but only under limited, rare or specific circumstances, or who experiences it but not enough to want to act on it. I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. Nothing. Diddly squat. Right, and how do I actually know this, right? Because when I look back at my previous relationships in the past with guys I've been with for a very long time or even short periods of time, I have never ever looked at a guy and think, oh, I really want sex with you. That has never been a driving force. It's never been thoughts going through my mind. Even since being a child, you know, at school, I was always thinking about holding the guy's hand, about romance. I was never, ever considering his genitals anywhere near my genitals in a sexual intercourse way, you know? Yes, sitting on a guy's lap. Yes, even touching, you know, was okay in some respects, but not actually intercourse itself. And when I was like thinking about being in a relationship with a guy, I didn't even used to think about genital touching at all. It only used to ever be just the whole romance, just the fact that he was a really good looking guy, beautiful hair, beautiful face. Really felt like I wanted some romance with him, to hold his hand and to just chat with him and smile and feel close, you know? And that's the way I still feel to this day, right? I still feel that way. I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. If I did, I would tell you so, right? But I don't. But I do experience high levels of arousal sometimes. I already spoke about that on this channel. And some people get confused. They're like, well, how can you be aroused but not experience sexual attraction? Because they are two completely different things. Like arousal is a feeling you get in your genitalia, right? It's a like a tingling feeling, a warm feeling, an annoying feeling sometimes if you're busy doing something, right? So arousal is a feeling in your genitalia. It doesn't mean to say for asexuals particularly, it doesn't, like for me, it doesn't give me the feeling I want to do anything in terms of having sex with someone, because I don't. It usually makes me just irritated the fact that it's happened. And it's like, I don't really want to play with myself, but it makes me feel like type of things. And it's like, I just try and distract my mind sometimes to do other things, because it's like, I'd rather not be doing that, really, you know. But it doesn't make me want to actively participate in sexual intercourse with anyone or have sexual intercourse with anyone, you know. It just kind of makes me feel like sometimes like I want to touch just to relieve the arousal, to get it out of my system. Other times I just have to let it pass, you know. And I just try not to even do too much of that with myself lately, because for me it's not really great, and I'd rather be doing other things. So yeah, I kind of just try and distract my mind. And so, you know, but I don't, you know, like a heterosexual, for example, who experiences sexual attraction, the arousal, which usually mean it makes them want to act out having sexual intercourse with an actual specific personal people, right? If they're sexually attracted, if they sexual desire is there, again, that's a different thing. A sexual desire is a desire to have sex in and of itself. So it doesn't matter what person's involved, really. They just want sex. Some guys who are hetero even have sex with other guys who are the same gender as them, because they just need the sex that badly. So yeah, it's kind of a minefield, you know. And I think it's important to be respectful that not every asexual is the same, right? So if I look at a guy and I think he's hot looking, it means he's very, very aesthetic attractive. Right? Some guys I find cute. Some guys I find handsome. And some guys who are usually younger, foreign guys who have a certain type of look, I think they're hot. Not all of them. I don't associate with the word hot, but some of them I do. And what does that mean when I say that? It means I want to have hot, steamy kissing with them, not hot, steamy sex with them. Ugh. It means that I want to, like, you know, like stroke their hair and cuddle them and kiss them and stroke their beautiful skin and that, like the upper body. So I'm not interested in the guy's genitalia, right? If he doesn't have genitalia, it wouldn't bother me, you know. I mean, the only thing is I'm very hetero, so I am into guys and not into female genitalia whatsoever. I have to make that perfectly clear, you know. But you know, what he does with his bit that flies around is up to him, you know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not interested. The only reason I'd be interested is part of him. If it's in a relationship and I love the guy, then it'd be like, well, I love all of you because that happens to come with you. And I can't exactly ask you to chop it off now, can I? Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I don't mind sitting on a guy's lap. I don't mind sitting in between his legs, which can be quite erogenous. But I have no desire to have sex, even though I've had it in the past. It's not like I can't have it if I really wanted to, but even if I did have sex, I still want to experience sexual attraction, because we have to understand that sexual behavior is not the same as sexual attraction, which is something that people just don't understand. Because I wouldn't have known the difference from my previous heterosexual relationships. I would have thought they were the same. I would have thought everyone who's got sexual behavior automatically wants to do some sex stuff in the sense of what society teaches you. But however, I've always known that I have sexual behavior, sometimes really shocking sexual behavior with kissing, despite the fact I don't want any sex. I've always kind of been able to, like, snog a guy, for example, that I'm really aesthetically attracted to on the dance floor. And like the DJs think, oh, this person must want sex, get a room, you two. And it's like, no, I just love snogging. And it's the perception and the way I come across in those moments that make them think that. So to answer the question, am I a grey asexual? if I call someone hot? The answer is no, I'm not a textbook grey asexual. And if grey asexual means I experience sexual attraction, I'm not a grey asexual. However, I do use the term heteromantic grey A, because if you got a copy of my Asexual Perspectives book, which clearly most people haven't, who are actually saying about asking me these questions, if you've got a copy of my Asexual Perspectives book, you will know that I redefine grey A in here to mean grey areas. This is when you can have some sexual behaviour despite experiencing zero sexual attraction. Right? That's what I think grey A should be. Unfortunately, grey A, grey sexual, grey asexual, they all come together to mean the same thing, which to me is a bit preposterous, because it's like, why have three things that mean the same thing? So grey areas for me are things that are sexual behaviour despite not experiencing any sexual attraction, things that are seen as out of the asexual stereotypical box. You know, I'm not a stereotypical asexual in some ways, and in other ways I'm fully stereotypical in the sense that I don't experience any sexual attraction, in the fact that when I was younger in birth certificate age, there was always the evidence that I didn't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, that I wasn't interested in sex, I wasn't interested in doing sexual acts, all I wanted to do was kiss. If you've heard my story of when I was 6 years old, I had a boyfriend at the age of 6 years old. That was when I first had my very first passionate kiss. And I really, really loved the kissing, but he wanted to do some touching and I didn't want it. I was horrified at 6 years old. I thought, this is really wrong and this is really disgusting. Sam, I can think some guys are hot, but never want to do any sex stuff with them. Just cuddling would suit me. Maybe some kissing, but cuddling is much better. Thank you, Sam. Lots of love to you. It's lovely to see you. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up as well. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you came on and said that. Because this person is a friend who asked me this, but they already asked me before and I gave the same answer, you know, like, you know, some asexuals can find people hot without actually wanting to have sex with them, because they can find them so asexually pleasing. They just want to be close to them and cuddle them. And obviously some asexuals might want some touching as well. And the touching, again, varies from different types of asexuals. Some want complete, like, full body nakedness, massage and touching all over the body and doing everything like that, apart from the intercourse. And other asexuals, they like to keep fully clothed, don't need to see any nakedness whatsoever. And other asexuals are just like, well, when we go to bed, we can get undressed in front of each other, but otherwise we don't really need to see each other naked, you know? There's all these different types. That's why I actually created my Asexual Perspectives book in the first place, to celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. You know, even when I first discovered I was asexual, which was through asexuality.com, that I discovered, well, but this person said that I was a grey asexual because of the way I like to kiss. And this guy I thought would really know his stuff, because he used to be a person who organised asexual meetups in London. So, but when I looked into it at that time, grey asexual was a catch-all term for people who felt like they weren't, they didn't fit into an asexual box. They weren't completely asexual. They weren't sexual. They were in between. And so for me, I feel I'm fully asexual. I know I'm fully asexual in the sense of not experiencing any sexual attraction. But I have some sexual behaviour in the way I do like to kiss. And so I could just get rid of the grey A in terms of, like, I don't experience any sexual attraction, but I don't feel comfortable doing that because I feel that my behaviour with the way I like to kiss is too sexual for some heterosexuals. Some heterosexuals, some heteromantic asexuals, but not sexual enough for all pretty much heterosexuals. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'll repeat that again. So I find my behaviour with the way I like to kiss is too sexual for a lot of heteromantic asexuals, those that are romantically attracted but not sexually attracted, but not sexual enough in behaviour for those with sexual attraction, such as heterosexuals. I'm only interested in heteros because I'm only attracted to the opposite sexual gender, right? Guys, okay, I was born cis female and I'm happy to be cis female. So I just want to clear that up. Yeah, so, you know, everyone's different. And I understand that some people who are asexual, you know, don't think anyone's hot. They feel they're cute or some other word, because we associate the word hot usually with someone who actually experiences sexual attraction or who wants sex. And I think that's why we have to break these damaging stereotypes. I think stereotypes are handy in the sense they're guides, but I think, you know, they also shove people into boxes where people just don't fit. And I feel personally that I don't fit into a complete asexual, neat little tidy box, you know? Like, I experience zero sexual attraction, have high arousal levels, and I'm sexual in behaviour the way I like to kiss by some degree. Although some sexuals may not totally understand that, because obviously for them, sexual behaviour always leads to sex, whereas mine doesn't. So do you see what I mean? I feel like I'm a kind of a combination of different, whilst being asexual, I'm a combination of other things as well. But the benefit of this, the huge benefit of this, is I can help bridge the gap between sexuals and asexuals in understanding, because I've been in heterosexual relationships for over half of my life. I understand sexuals very well. I thought I was a heterosexual for years, you know? I honestly thought I was. Heterosexual, just didn't really like sex, wasn't really into it, you know? And then it came to the point after I finished after the relationship finished with my long-term ex in 2011, after that, I just couldn't, I took a year out of, nearly a whole year out of dating on purpose. And then I just couldn't have sex again. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It didn't matter how hot the guy was. You know, I was with the Bangladesh guy, and he was, up until that point, I mean, when I say with, I was having a date with him, right? And up until that point, he was the best kisser I'd ever had. I thought he was 23, but actually 21 when we connected together on Facebook, right? And the way he kissed me was just amazing and incredible. I absolutely loved it. And at the end of the day, he wanted sex with me. He made that very plain and clear. And I'm like, no, I just can't do that with you. I don't feel that way. I'm not that type of person. And he was like, well, there's no problem. I can have you as my girlfriend, and I can have sex with other women. And he said this to me, and I'm like, no. You know, if I was a great asexual, experienced sexual attraction, then I would have probably wanted to have sex with him, because he was very good looking, and the way he kissed me was very, 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 very body arousing, but I wanted no sex whatsoever. He said what? Said Eddie. Oh, nice to see you, Eddie. Thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah. A Bangladesh guy, Eddie, he literally said to me at the end of the night after we'd been on a date, he said that he could, you know, have me as his girlfriend. Because he asked me to be his girlfriend, right? And I said that I don't want sex. And he said, I like sex. Why don't you like sex? I said, but I just don't like it. I just don't want it. I'm not that type of person. And he actually said to me, he said, no problem. You can be my girlfriend. I can have sex with other women. I'm like, no. So I think I even said that, you know, or at least it went through my mind. It was 2013, this was, I think. 2013, was it? Well, there was another Bangladesh guy I saw in 2013, so I can't remember if... Oh, no, this was 2014. This was shortly... So 2013, I was a Bangladesh guy who I dated for about 3 weeks, I think it was, because he cheated on me after 3 weeks with a girl, and I found out really he was just looking for a wife, and he wasn't particularly nice. And then in 2014, yeah, I think this was in 2014, not longer. That's actually when I found out I was asexual, very early stages. So I still wasn't confident like I am now. Like, oh, I'm asexual, blah, 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 blah. This is what asexuality is. It was I think it was July 2014, because my grandma had just sadly wasn't with me anymore. So it was like, I was down the quayside, kind of like, reflecting on things and being a bit sad, and he came along, this guy did. I decided to accept his offer of a date, like I do. You know what I'm like? It's like most people have been like, why did you accept a date from a stranger? It's because, like, dates are from strangers usually. And so yeah, now I prefer to get to know someone in person before having a date, ideally, but with sexuals it doesn't usually work that way, you know, which is why I try to prefer to have, you know, like, talk to asexual guys and just kiss guys in clubs, sexual guys, because I know that we can't really have a relationship, because this is what they want usually, the majority of them. You know, so yeah, 2014, yeah, he came back and he dropped me off at my home. I mean, I live in my own rented accommodation in the middle of a house. So when I say drop me at home, it's not like I'm the only one here. There's other people in the house, which is good for security reasons. And he dropped me off. And yeah, that's what he said to me. And it was devastating, you know. I think if you're asexual and you really like the look of someone and you like their company and you like their kissing as well, and you know they turn around to you and say that, I think it is devastating at the time. I think, you know, you just feel like, why can't you love me without sex? You know, why do you? And I certainly at that point knew that my worth was more than that. And I, you know, I believe I deserve just as much monogamy in a relationship as any other person. Just because I'm asexual doesn't mean to say I don't deserve that. You know, if a guy can't live without sex, then don't be with me. But don't ask me to be your girlfriend. And then while you go around and stick your bit in other women, basically, you know, like, I hate that attitude completely. I mean, I get people on Facebook, right, who are in dating groups. And if I put non-asexual dating groups, because I'm in some of them as well, and I go in there and I post about me being asexual, what that means, right? Obviously, I get the laughs and I'm kind of like used to that. I just like, whatever. And, you know, I always get some guys and they are hell bent on basically saying, oh, you won't find anyone else, so take me because I'm like the best you can get. And it's like, no, I'm not desperate to get in a relationship. I'm just putting it out there that I'm looking for this type of relationship in case there's any asexual guys, ideally, in the group, you know, and I don't have to be in a relationship. I've actually been predominantly single for 9 years now. Like, you know, I had a relationship last year, if you can call it a relationship, that was last about 3 weeks, but he was the wrong guy, so I cut him. And then I had dated a heterosexual guy for a couple of months. I think it was in 2017. I had one date with a heterosexual guy that I ended up having a respiratory infection for 7 weeks after that. And a Bangladesh guy, I was 2013 before I even found out I was asexual. I had 3-week relationship because he cheated on me in 3 weeks, you know? And so really, if you look at all those heterosexuals that I was with, all being the wrong people for me, really, I do need to be with an asexual guy. Eddie, I don't know if I said this to you all, but my girl and I thank you for all the support you have given our relationship. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, I really appreciate that. I don't think you put it in those words before, so it's really nice. Thank you very much, Eddie. I really appreciate it. It's really nice. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, because it must be difficult for you sometimes as well. Sam, it's great that you and your girl are doing so well. Wish you both many more years. Yeah, it's really good, Eddie. I guess it's difficult for you as well sometimes, you know. Well, difficult for you both. You know, because there's quite a lot, you know, there's a lot of skeptics, isn't there? You know, of sexuals can't be with asexuals. So although as asexuals we get a lot of grief, in some ways sexuals, you know, if you are not having sex, you probably get some grief for that as well. Do you know what I mean? We spoke last week and I consider myself Bigfoot in this, and she considers herself as winning the lotto. Oh, Bess, that's really nice. Oh, it's really sweet. I'm glad you two are getting strong. And thank you for the thanks. I really appreciate that. It's really nice. I very much appreciate that. It's lovely. Yeah. So, yeah, because it must be hard, you know, because I know there's quite a lot of skeptics, isn't there, about sexuals being able to be without sex. And it must be difficult. I do understand. But then, like you said, it's not that difficult because she's wonderful and she's the best relationship you've ever had. You know, I think there's a lot more to a relationship than sex. And I think some people are capable of living without sex, you know, if they have other things in their life and they see the beauty of a life without sex, you know, and they can, some people are quite spiritual and actually they can feel like sex takes away their energy, you know. So obviously there's other people that say otherwise. There are other people oh, sex is so healthy, it gives you you know, it's a great energetic activity. And there's other people, quite a lot of spiritual people, who talk about energy being, you know, taken away from basically. There's something called no fap, which I haven't actually covered on this channel yet, I think I've mentioned it once before on something, but I haven't done a whole video about it. And that's where guys refrain from having sex, which is very interesting. I think they refrain from I don't know if they refrain from masturbation as well. But anyway, I'm gonna but yeah, so basically there's a lot of interesting stuff. Like some people obviously believe that, oh, you've got to have sex and to be healthy and happy, which is a load of rubbish. And other people see it as taking away the energy, and that you can utilize the sexual energy, if you have sexual energy, into something else more productive. Eddie, Sam, Bigfoot as in the squash. I can't even say that. Bigfoot as in the sash squash. You're both lucky to have each other. I know what that is now. The fat thing. Eddie, my sis made a crack at my relationship and said, "Oh, your girl doesn't do it, so you will never get a shot at her crevice." And I just looked at her and shrugged. That's horrible, Eddie. Your sister said that about another woman? Is she jealous or something? That's a very disgusting thing to say. That's very horrible. That is very, very horrible. I mean, talking about another woman's body like that. Yeah, saying that about your girl. Yeah, your sister said that about your girl. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, it's really disrespectful to you, really disgusting, and it's very disrespectful to the female species, to be quite honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just talking about a woman's body as a complete piece of meat. And I'm shocked that any woman, whether they're asexual or heterosexual, for example, or another type of sexual, would speak like that about a woman's body, using her crevice. Oh, it's just horrible. It's completely disrespectful. I'm really sorry you had that. It's not very nice. It's really horrible. How do you react to something like that? My sis is an ass. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, but I do, because I just think that it's really not nice. It's totally disrespecting a woman's body. It's like when people do dirty sex talk. For me, it wouldn't do anything for me. It would really turn me off. Dirty sex talk, it'd be kind of well, go and be dirty somewhere else. I'd rather have a guy telling me how he wants to kiss me. I understand that not everyone's the same, but do you know what I mean? It'd be or just actually kissing me, sweet little kisses on my neck. That would be much more turning on, romantically and arousingly and aesthetically. Not, I want to have sex. It'd be cute and sweet and feeling great. How does she even think that would be an insult to us? Yeah, I just think it's really bad, But, like you say, you're strong anyway, So, Sam, I had a boyfriend that tried getting me to sex talk. I failed miserably because I haven't a clue or interest in it. Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? I mean, luckily, none of my exes were into that type of thing, really. I mean, when they were with me, they would say stuff, but it wasn't dirty stuff. It wasn't bad stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was just what we were doing at the time. Oh, you used to love a dirty talk, Eddie. Yeah, I just gets dull after a while. Yeah, I don't even know exactly what's involved in dirty talk, but I can imagine. I know that I think swearing's involved in it, and talking about the female. For example, a guy would talk about the female genitalia in a more the type of way your sister did, I'm guessing. More in a vulgar way, more in a cursing way, more in a very sexually explicit way. Yeah. So, but like I talk to asexual guys. Well, I just message some asexual guys, and they get turned on by me messaging how I like to kiss, which isn't anything naughty. It's just kissing them on their lips and neck and like their cheek and running my fingers through their hair. And for some reason, they seem to get completely turned on by it. In a way, it's nice because it's like I don't have to do much to turn a guy on, and I don't have to talk about sex. But these are asexual guys I'm talking about that do this. It's not just sexual guys. I mean, I don't talk to many sexual guys, to be honest. A lot of the people I talk to online, the majority are asexual. Like I've got two guys I talk to on ASAP, both in the UK actually. I've got two other people that I need to email back, but I'm so busy this week. You might have known that my shows are just all over the place with the timings. I'm really sorry, but there's not, because I have to go live. There's only one of me, and I'm doing these live, not pre-recorded. I'm just doing so much work at the moment. Like literally, it's coming out of my ears that I'm not able to always stick to times. Like I wanted to do it at 11 o'clock, but I hadn't even eaten my food till like gone midnight. I was out food shopping like between 9:20 and 10 o'clock. So at night, and I didn't eat my food, like I said, till gone midnight. I didn't even finish it till about I was eating just before midnight, and then I think it was 7 minutes past midnight I finished, and then I had to rest a bit because I ate a lot of food, So yeah, I'm sorry that it's all scattered at the moment, but it's the best I can do for now with all the stuff. Like when I came back, obviously I was with Sam on Sunday. If you haven't seen that video, do go and check it out. So that was amazing. For one-to-one asexual meetup was incredible. And then I've been working on the Asexual Guide to Sex book, which is absolutely amazing. I've nearly got another story finished, so I'm really happy about that. And then I've got a asexual coaching client tomorrow that I've got prepared for today now because it's Wednesday. So I've got like stuff to do. I've got a testimonial I've got to do for someone else's product. I've got one of my other websites to update. I've got the new erogenicity channel coming out, which is going to be very interesting. I'm just going to think of that more as a job. This is me. That's more of a job. But I feel it's about the only way I can get through to mass heterosexuals on that channel. I've got to do the video trailer for that, but the video trailer is going to talk about my personal story, and it is going to involve asexuality. So right from the beginning, I'm spreading the word of asexuality on that channel, just so you know. Sam, 'twas fantabulastic. Oh yeah, it was amazing. We had such a great time. We had such an amazing time in London. We went to the Disney store, and we just had such an incredible time. Like on the upper floor, I'm going off on a tangent now, but on the upper floor, it was the woman said they'd only opened like the top floor over the last year, and it was all Marvel. It's like, oh man, the Avengers and everything. It was incredible. And so, there was a prop there that was actually on the real set of Star Wars. It's lovely. Very, very good. Really enjoyed my time with Sam there. It was amazing. Really, really good. Yes. So yeah, so in answer to the question that I originally asked, can an asexual find someone hot? The answer is yes. Some asexuals will still find people hot. I think you have to take everything into context. So I think if you've got someone, for example, you meet on an asexual dating site, or for example, ASAP, right? For example, ASAP at the moment, I love that app because it helps us to connect with more asexuals. I think it's always good. I am talking to two guys on there in the UK. I've been talking to them for a while now. It's got a lot better because there is a report button on that, but I'm still getting a lot of scammers and spammers on there, So I think you do have to, whenever you're talking to someone new and you have to assess whether they are really asexual or not. Like if there's nothing in their profile to even suggest that asexual, they're not even speaking asexual talk, if you know what I mean, then you got to be in two minds whether they are asexual or not, but everyone has to be taken on their own merits, like in context. So if you've got an asexual person who like happens to see someone and they say, and they're asexual, from when you've talked to them before, how they feel about things, that they're asexual, right? And if someone says they're hot like that, you know, you understand. But there's some people that will be on asexual dating sites and they'll start using the word like, oh yeah, they're so hot, I feel so horny, you know, and they want sex, basically, you know. And this is someone who definitely would not be a pure asexual. Obviously there are grey asexuals, which I have actually spoken about at the beginning of this video. Like genuine grey asexuals are those that do experience sexual attraction under limited, rare or specific circumstances. So in some cases they will, right? And so, you know, there might be people on the more sexual end of the spectrum that are more likely to use the language of hot. But Sam is a sex repulsed asexual. And they are definitely not a grey asexual. They don't experience any sexual attraction. But like Sam said in the comments, they can find someone hot. You know, they can find a guy hot because it's you know, it's what you interpret the word hot to mean, right? Like for me, I find kissing Indian guy particularly, but a younger foreign guy, really hot experience. Like it's, my heart melts and it's like, you know, it's very exciting, intense feeling. And so when I see a guy who's very aesthetically beautiful and I really want to snog his face off, I find him hot because it's like, oh, I just want to grab him and kiss him. Grab him in a nice way, not in a violent way. You know, just get hold of him and kiss him and do you know what I mean? I feel like fireworks going off. So like, you know, like having sex, I've had sex in the past, it does nothing for me. Like it's just like, yeah, I'm doing that. Obviously I've had different experiences with that. I mean, the guy that was good at sex, it's different experience to ones who weren't. But you know, it's just like, it's sex. It doesn't, when people talk about orgasm and this explosive like thing that seems to be amazing, I'm like, I still don't get that because I haven't experienced it. I don't, if I ever have it and squirt some liquid, to me it's just, I'm squirting some liquid. It's not an orgasmic experience. It's not explosive in the sense I'm having like a great time. It's like, please just put me on a theme park ride. I have a much better time. Like, let me kiss. That is much more exciting to me, physically and mentally and emotionally. Kissing does everything for me. Sex does diddly squat for me. Nothing. Like, I mean, I feel it, but it's not exciting. Do you know what I mean? If I do that, it'd be because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to. Sam, yeah, because I don't associate the word hot with sex. It just means to me they are super gorgeous and I'd really love to cuddle / kiss them and be close to them. Precisely. Sam has hit the ace on the head, figuratively speaking. Absolutely, because, yeah, I will repeat what Sam said because it's very good. Because I don't associate the word hot with sex, it just means to me they are super gorgeous and I'd really love to cuddle / kiss them and be close to them. And that's exactly the way I feel. Although Sam's more for cuddling, I'm more for kissing. And it's exactly the way I feel. You know, I just want to, you know, when you see a gorgeous sweet or something, or gorgeous cream cake, or, you know, like, I'm going to put it like, I don't know, like I really like chocolate, but I don't eat hardly any of it because I've got food allergies these days. But think of your favorite piece of cake or your favorite like sweet even that you put in your mouth and you just want to suck. That's probably not a good analogy. I was going to say suck the sweet. It's a bit like that. Like it tastes yummy, but you don't want to do anything with it other than kiss it. That's a bad analogy, isn't it? Laugh out loud. Exactly. It's probably a really bad analogy, but as I like to snog and it does involve the tongue, I guess it's like sucking on the sweet. I'm going a bit red now. Oh, dear me. Yes. I'm like, well, maybe my kissing is a bit like sucking on the sweet. Hilarious. How can I put it? It's like eating your favorite piece of cake, though. You eat it and you're just so excited to eat it, but you don't want to have sex with the cake. Do you know what I mean? That would just be grotesque, messy, and disgusting. You get bits everywhere. It's like, although I have to say, I did say in a previous video, if you are going to have sex and you're an asexual person who decides they want to have sex for whatever reason, you know, get your partner to get some cake so you can lick it off his chest or something. So at least, or her chest, if you're like women or whatever gender you like, you know, and have some pleasure out of sex, because if you're not getting pleasure actually out of it genitalia wise, you may as well do something else that does give you pleasure at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So have a piece of cake on their chest and just, I don't know actually how that would work if you're actually having sex. You'd probably end up with cake all over your face, but maybe that would make the experience better because you'd be looking at something tasty, you'd be licking something tasty and not paying attention to your genitalia, which you're not really interested in paying attention to, maybe, if you are not interested in that because you find sex boring. So there we go. That's an interesting thing to explore, isn't it? But I do think, you know, like if you are an asexual that does get bored by sex, but you don't mind it, you know, because I don't think any asexual should have sex. If you don't want it, I don't think you should have it. You know, I don't think you should be forcing yourself to have it. I don't think you should be pushing yourself to have it. I don't think you should be making yourself have it. You know, if you really don't want sex, I don't think you should be having it. There's no need to have it if you don't want it. The problem is a lot of people would rather be in a relationship with someone like a sexual person than be on their own. And I think there's two things going on here. One is some people can be coming from a place of very loneliness, like they really want to be with someone, so they're willing to sacrifice their self for the sake of being in a relationship, period, right? And then there's other people who are okay being on their own, but it would be nice to have a relationship with someone, and most of the world population is still heterosexual. So, you know, I think you have to see what your motive is, where you're coming from as to why you would want to have sex if you don't actually want it, if you know what I mean, and why would you have sex if you don't want it? Do you see where I'm coming from? So I think you have to, you know, actually assess that. But I think if you are a person that's indifferent to sex, sex positive, don't mind having sex, but you do find it a bit boring, I think, you know, try and find some ways that you can asexually enjoy it, you know, as in do some other stuff that takes your mind off the actual act and is fun for you. Try maybe you like cosplay and you want to dress up as a cosplay character. I mean, some sexuals really get turned on by that, but asexuals would just probably find that fun and adventurous and interesting. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you want to get dressed on like a cosplay costume, or maybe you, like I said, you want to get cake involved in a eating it way. Maybe you want to, I don't know, maybe you just want some nice music on and some pretty hearts everywhere if you're a romantic asexual. And, you know, like there's lots of different things you could do to make it a better experience for you as an asexual person who's not really into the whole thing. I mean, obviously, I think you should try, if you can, to be with an asexual person, but there are some asexuals that do actually not mind being in a relationship with a sexual person and having sex, you know? So I think you've really got to ask yourself at the end of the day what's right for you, you know? There are no two ways to be there are no two right ways to be asexual. Do you know what I mean? That everyone's different. And I think it's very important. You know, I think that's why it's so difficult to get a relationship for asexuals. You know, I think it's very hard because when it comes to asexual dating, for example, we're very matter of fact. Like when I'm on an asexual dating site, I'm on ASAP, it's very, very matter of fact. It's very, you know, like, this is you know, this is me, this is my hobbies and interests, this is what type of relationship I want. It's kind of like you fit that or you don't. In most cases you don't, because you've got different interests or different lifestyle, or you're just not attracted in the same way to each other. And so, you know, I think that's why it's very difficult. Whereas with heterosexuals, for example, I'm talking about hetero because I'm only attracted to guys. That's my most experience, you know. With heterosexual guys, sort of like, and heterosexuals in general in relationships, kind of like sexual attraction is the main focus. So it kind of like when I've been in asexual dating, when I've been on sexual dating sites in the past, I was on eHarmony years and years ago in 2012. So when I first split, when my long-term ex and I were no longer in a relationship, we split in 2011. In 2012, I did decide, like, I had a period where I decided I wouldn't date anyone, but I did go on a dating site because I was I was still getting over my ex, and I thought I really need to start thinking about moving on. So one of the things I thought might help me was to join a dating site. So I joined eHarmony. I paid for just 3 months, and and I remember going on there, and I got I got some guys messaging me back. One lived not too far. I think he lived in Newton Abbot, and he was in his 20s, I think, from memory, British though, and he was quite good looking. And he messaged me back. He said, "Joe, I'm interested in you, but I like sex." And I was like, "Oh, but I don't like that." And he's like, "Yeah, I have to have that in a relationship." And he's like, "Sorry," basically. And I'm like, "Oh." So then I made it clear in my profile on eHarmony that I didn't want sex. And then I got no one messaging me after that. That was it. No one. Diddly squat. Nothing. And so it's like, oh. And I didn't know I was asexual back in 2012. I didn't find out till 2014. And I'm just like, oh. And it's kind of a waste of money then. That's a problem. If you're on a dating site, which is not for asexuals, and you're paying, then you're paying to basically have sexuals look at your profile. Oh, you don't want sex? Well, I'm on this site looking for sex. I actually was on mingle2.com, which I haven't been on for ages, which I know Sam joined to try out. And I actually had guys approaching me, and they didn't read my profile. One guy said to me, "Oh, I've just read your," he approached me first going, "Oh, I'm interested in you. You're really pretty," or whatever. They rubbish. They just come out with a lot. I mean, I am pretty, but it's not rubbish, but they just come out with cut and paste stuff a lot of the time. And anyway, then he went on. Then he he was messaging me. Then he stopped very, very briefly, and then he said, "I've just read your profile." I'm thinking, well, that's what you should have done in the first place, mate. Clearly, you were just talking a load of rubbish or just basing it completely on my looks. And he's like, "Oh, I just read your profile and seen you don't want sex." And I actually split with my ex because I didn't get any sex, and I don't want that type of relationship again. I'm on here to find someone who does want a sexual relationship. And so, yeah, that person was really peed off with not having sex in a relationship for a long time. And I've met some other guys, I think was on that site as well, that said the same thing. I mean, it was horrendous, right? On that site, I also saw an Indian guy that did check me out. And he'd been married for 25 years in the UK with wife and kids, and decided he was bored in the bedroom and that he no longer wanted to be faithful to his wife. 25 years of marriage with 2 kids. Still married, not divorced, still with her, but just having an affair. I just think that's disgusting. And the problem with that type of thing, when you see that, is it really lowers your trust. It's like someone you would have been, just imagine his wife being in a relationship with him for 25 years and him doing that to her and her not even knowing, with 2 kids. I mean, how does she deserve that? She doesn't. Yeah, he'd rather play in other people's gardens, as the expression is. And I just think it's disgusting. Sam, I've had married men messaging me. Sucks to know what they're up to. It does, doesn't it? I've had it on Facebook and that, But I think, on Facebook, it's bad enough. But I think when a guy actually goes specifically on a dating website to set up a profile specifically to cheat, it's even worse than just a person chatting me up on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? It's just horrible, because the whole intention is to have an affair and to see it through. And that's what they're on there. Whereas some people, like in foreign countries, they message me. It's like, well, we're never going to meet, especially if you're married anyway. Do you know what I mean? Well, some people, I guess, make it work or do it. But I mean, I always say to them, go and talk to your wife. If you spent as much time talking to your wife as you did other people, then, you'd have a better relationship. Which is why a lot of relationships are completely failing in divorce, because, people are just off looking for the other thing instead of fixing the problems in the relationship in the first place, or having the guts to just walk away. I think people who are having affairs like that, it's just cowardly, in my opinion. It's like, end it. Just give the person the decency to end it. But that's not what they want. They want the wife, the kids, and they want the bit on the side as well. It's like, if your life is so boring that all you can do is have an affair, that says more about you than your wife or your kids. And if you're bored in the bedroom, go and sort it out. make it exciting again. But at the end of the day, like traditionally, men are supposed to be the one who lead in the bedroom. Therefore, if the bedroom stuff is failing, it means it's his fault, technically speaking, if you have a traditional marriage, which if they're Indian with a wife and 2 kids, I think he was in a traditional marriage, then he should be being traditional and thinking, I'm actually the one at fault because I'm meant to be the leader and I'm doing it. Seriously, do you know what I mean? That's why it's so messed up. You know, it's so messed up. If guys want to be the masculine leader, they should step up and lead. Sam, if you're tempted to cheat, either talk to your partner and sort out your relationship or end it so you can both move on. I 100% agree, Sam. I 100% agree. You know, I totally agree. You know, it's like I had a guy a while back who I met in a group and I said that was asexual and what helping asexuals, and he came to me in private message. And he said, I've been married for 12 years, but can't stand it anymore. I need to have sex. And this person's asexual. My wife's asexual. And he is blaming it all on her and saying it was a result of trauma and some stuff like that. And I've got to have sex. You know, I've stayed faithful for 12 years. It's like, oh, poor you. Do you know what I mean? It's like you chose to be married to that person. And my marriage is meant to be for life, in sickness or in health. If people change, that's the thing. If you don't want to be with someone who's going to change their mind, don't get married. Because people change their mind. People, you know, like if an asexual decides, for example, to get in a relationship with a sexual and they do have sex and then they decide that they don't like it because it's not actually true to who they are, then they have the right to do that, you know. But calling someone, like saying it, like really pushing to say it's a result of trauma and they've got something wrong with them and they've got to go for counselling, it's just disgusting. You know, that person should leave, but he goes, oh, she doesn't want me to leave her. I thought probably because she doesn't know any alternative, but I couldn't speak to the asexual. It was the sexual husband that approached me, not the asexual person. So I gave him like details of the groups, but I don't think he passed it on, which is a shame. Because it's kind of like keeping her imprisoned in this false sense of belief that there's no one else like her. So by not actually passing details on and getting me to connect with her, he's basically keeping her thinking there's something wrong with her while he plays away. And it's all right for him to play away because she's got a trauma. He's hard done by. Therefore, he can go have sex with whatever because he needs it. You know, and I think that's very sad. I think that's very sad. If he loved her, he would be like, I mean, he goes, oh, she's a beautiful person. I'm like amazing person. He said intelligent as well, but it's like clearly you don't value that enough. You value sex and your dick more, basically. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's horrible, you know. If you've got an asexual partner or wife or husband, you should be giving them details so they can be with people of their own kind. But you probably won't do that because it pays for you to keep them in the dark, because they could leave you for another asexual person who they get on much better with, who they have a deep emotional connection with, who doesn't need something they can't give or don't want to give you, which is sex. And that hurts. So it pays to keep you to keep that person in the dark. You know, it's like being in prison. And I think that's what it can be like for asexuals. When you don't know there's other people like you, it's like being in a prison. It's like you're in a false sense of security that's not secure at all. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why as well, asexuality, the world doesn't want people to know that people are asexual. It's all conditioning. Because, you know what I mean? Just imagine all the people that don't want, need, or like sex that could actually be with people of their own kind. But it's heterosexuals that are keeping them in the prisons, making them believe there's something wrong with them if they try to escape to a better life for them. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of conditioning going on. There's a lot of, if you really open your mind up to the reality of life, the truth is that people don't know the truth. Is that there's a whole host of asexuals, at least 1% of the population. I actually think it's more. You know, thousands of people, 1 in every 100 people you meet are likely to be asexual. But, you know, by saying it's a result of trauma or some problem you've got, it then means that sexuals have to keep, you know, they're hard done by and they have to have their sex elsewhere. Whereas if the truth was opened up and every asexual just knew that about asexuality, there's people of our own kind, we congregate towards our own kind more often than not. Therefore, there would be a lot of people that were divorced or splitting up, and they wouldn't want this person to leave them. They'd want to keep them in their false belief there's something wrong with them, and there isn't. There's nothing wrong with being asexual. It's a perfectly valid sexual orientation. But you can see how they don't want you people to know, can't you? Just imagine all the relationships that are based on lies. Just imagine, I mean, the counsellor, I mean, look what she said to me. You have to have sex in order to keep a good guy. Just imagine if I had not gone home that time and Googled, I love kissing but not sex. Just imagine what my life would be like right now. I wouldn't have met my best friend Sam. I wouldn't be on this channel right now. I would have been still thinking I was the only one in the entire world, planet, and universe like me. I would have lived quite a miserable, lonely life in that respect. I would have been misunderstood. It's actually quite horrific to think about what I mean, pretty much given up hope of ever getting into a relationship or love, being loved for who I was in a relationship. Do you know what I mean? Or actually getting someone without sex. I mean, even the deep friendship love I got now, I never would have even dreamt it, you know, back then. I mean, I remember the feeling, you know. I felt very empty in that way. I felt misunderstood. I felt lonely. I mean, I was happy enough in myself in the sense that I loved myself. Well, I was loving myself. By 2014, I started my self-love journey in 2012. But, you know, I still felt like, you know, because I am a really romantic girl, you know, and although I'm not in a relationship now, I've got hope and I understand myself better and I've got beautiful asexual friends. Best friend is in the chat. So supportive. Love you, my best friend, Sam, you know, as my best friend, you know. Such a beautiful, beautiful individual. Oh, thank you, Sam. Yeah, best friends forever. I really like that about you. You're amazing, incredible human being. You've got a beautiful heart and soul. Really, really, I'm really blessed that you're my best friend, you know, and I love the fact we chat pretty much every day and keep each other informed of how our life is. Plus, we're still really busy in our own lives as well. I love that about us. We're busy doing our own thing, but still got time for each other. It's incredible. You know, Sam's someone I love to talk to and keep up to date, and vice versa, you know, in between our hectic lives. So it's really good. You know, but I just imagine if I hadn't have just Googled that, I mean, I wouldn't even be here now. God knows what would have happened to me. I think I would have been not in a good place, really. I mean, I'd done a lot of work to myself, but in terms of relationship, I would probably still be, I would either be completely like promising myself not to ever be in a relationship again, which that's what I was doing at the time. That's why when I went on asexuality.com for the first time, asexual dating site for asexuals, although there's not all the people on there are asexual, a lot of them are. But when I joined that, I was like, because I actually promised myself before I went to counsel. Well, I think it was before I went to counsel, I promised myself. I'm like, Sandra, that's it. You've got to promise yourself not to date sexuals anymore, and that you can't be in a relationship anymore. And I kind of promised myself that I wouldn't go after a relationship. And so I remember when I went on asexuality.com, after I found out I was asexual, I remember thinking, you're going to break this promise to yourself. And you don't like to break promises to I forgot about this till now, and you don't like to break promises to yourself, you know. And I'm like, what do I do now? I'm in a dilemma. But I just had to cut myself some slack and think, well, you've got new circumstances that you never knew was possible. So, you know, and when I first went asexuality, I'm like, hi, I'm Sandra. I'm happy being single. Thanks. That was about it. I was like, I can just like, you know, when you are like just testing the water and you're just like dipping your finger in some water to see if it's hot enough or if it's too cold. And I was just like, like that was it. And I remember as I got more confident, I kept changing it to a little bit more about myself. Now it's a full essay. Like, it's like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for in a relationship. And this is how I've evolved, you know. This is how I've evolved in my asexual relationship journey. You know, it's like, this is what I want. This is what I'm crystal clear about. This is what I don't want. Sam, you've also had a huge impact on many others' lives. Oh, thank you, Sal. Lots of love for my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have got people private messaging me telling me I've changed their life, and I know you and Andy even said that to me, which is lovely. Thank you. And it's just wonderful. And yeah, none of that would have been possible if I'd listened to the counsellor. You know, like, I hate to think what had happened if I just stayed listening to her, if I didn't have the strength to go my own way. And I think that's what you have to do in life. Like, sometimes there's so many people who just follow the crowd. And like, if a doctor tells me something, do you think I'd just go and do it like that? Not all the time, no. I mean, sometimes I'll do it if I think it's in my interest. If not, I just won't. So you know what I mean? I've always been like that though. Even when I was a teenager in birth certificate age, I had to go and see an orthodontist, right? Orthodontists are people who fit braces. And when I went to this orthodontist, I was like a teenager at school. The person didn't say anything about having a brace to me. All they talked about is having my teeth pulled out. I don't do teeth pulling out because I don't like pain and I don't think it's necessary to pull teeth out. But they're like, oh, but your teeth's a bit crooked. But I don't care that my teeth's a bit crooked. I like my teeth the way they are, right? Like, I'm imperfectly perfect for me, right? I'm not interested in having perfectly straight teeth and having teeth took out. But the whole point was they weren't talking about having a brace. All they were talking about is pulling my teeth out. And so I told them, no, I'm not having it done. I went with my mum. My mum was by my side. I said, I'm not having it done. They're like, what? I said, I'm not having it done. I'm not interested in that. I don't want my teeth pulled out. That was it. And off I went. And the orthodontist can believe it. I mean, like, I was 15 or younger, and the orthodontist like, but I'm like, I don't want it. I'm not having it done. I just walked away because I've always been strong like that. I will not be told what to do by anyone. I will make my own decision accordingly based on the circumstances at the time and my personal preference. So even from a young age, I guess I've always been a leader. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't follow the crowd. Is it easy? No. But is it worth it? Yes. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think, like, from an early age, I had different. I was very old for my age when I was younger in birth certificate age. I was very old. I was like an old woman inside. I was very old and wise, and it was like I'm the reverse now, you know. And so it's very interesting how I've like gone backwards to being younger, but got lots of experience. But you know, like, I think asexuality is a journey of discovery, and I'm so glad I discovered it, you know, because if I hadn't, you know, like, where would I be right now? And that's why, you know, it's very important that we carry on raising awareness of asexuality. However we can do that, you know, it's important that we reach out to all those people that never realized, you know, just what they were. I had someone who came in my chat bubble on my asexualized.com site the other day, and it was someone who, obviously I'm not going to give their private details, but they said they're 58 years old and they're so happy they just discovered they're asexual. And this was on my asexualized.com chat bubble. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've just found out I'm asexual. I'm 58 years old. I'm so happy. I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong with me. And so, do you know what I mean? It's a wonderful feeling. I remember that feeling myself, you know. I'm like, wow, there's others like me. Honestly, it's like being an alien on a completely different planet, and all of a sudden you've met up with your other aliens. Like, it's like, yes, my own kind, it's come back to me. Whoop, 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 whoop. Me and Sam are the leaders. Sam with a spaceship, and I'm on there as well, leading the team, leading the way. It's really important, you know. It's really important. Not I'm saying I want to go into space, but I'm a bit like, don't do heights. I just have a spaceship that's like X amount off the ground, or hovering, like a hovercraft. I could probably do a hovercraft. But yeah, so but you know what I mean? It's just like, when I put myself in that position now, it's like torture, you know. And I think that is a lot of the case, that one of the secrets why people don't, you know, people who find out their partner's asexual, for example, good partners will want to help them. You know, like when I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality Conference in 2018, there was a woman who came with her husband. She'd actually bought this book and highlighted a majority of the sections in it and got me to sign it for her. And she was so happy she got this book, and she'd been reading it. Like, she'd been marking stuff off it, like highlighting different paragraphs where she felt that it related to her, which is a good thing to do. I love highlighting, like yellow highlighters. And her husband was there supporting her at the UK Asexuality conference. He even made a joke, like, he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm that sexual guy. I'm one of those sexuals," you know, because on my channel I do say about quite a few things that aren't great about sexuals, but you know, I've got sexual friends still. They're not all bad. Okay, not everything's bad about being sexual. You know, for sexuals who love sex and who have another person who's enjoying sex, it's good for them. You know, it's just, I don't personally want to be involved with it, you know. I think that's the way quite a lot of asexuals who are not into sex and not sex positive and not interested in it for themselves feel. You know, like, I'm sex positive for sexuals who love sex with another sexual and it's all consensual and they're enjoying themselves and they're having fun. That's fine, but I'm sex repulsed for me. You know, I'm not interested in that. It doesn't do anything for me. You know, like, as I'm writing my Asexual Guide to Sex book again, like, I'm still just finishing off the final interviewees' answers, which, you know, I've nearly finished another story now, which is great because I haven't got many to go. And then I'm writing the majority, you know, well, I'm writing the rest of my story, you know, which is the majority of it, because I've only done a little bit because I wanted to wait till the rest of the people got their stories in so I could fill in any gaps or blanks in my own personal you know, chapters that is needed in that type of book. And so you know, I just feel blessed of all the asexuals that took part, and that's really difficult when you're an asexual person who has had sex in the past to talk about stuff like that, because some of these people have had traumatic experiences. Some, I'm not saying all, but you know, and it can be very difficult going back to those times, but they're doing it to help other asexuals, you know. And like I said, I have no problem with other people having sex. I mean, obviously, as I'm writing the book, I'm having to remember, like, the feeling of it, which is quite interesting. It's kind of weird to go back into that kind of mindset, you know? It's kind of like, you know, like, you question yourself, like, could I ever do this again? Would I ever really want to do this again? Well, when I say really want, I never really want it, but like, could I do this again? Would it be possible for me to do it again? And I keep coming back with the same answers, like, I don't really want to do it. And like, I'd just be doing it for the sake of it, really. And I'd probably get really bored and I probably couldn't do it like very often, like once every few months at the most, if I could force myself to do it, which case I don't want to do it and I'm not going to force myself because it's bad. But you know, like, at the moment, I just can't see me actually wanting to do it ever again. I really would prefer someone who just likes kissing, because another thing that I find with sex is that once people start having sex with you, they just want more and more of it, you know. And as a person who absolutely loves the kissing but not the sex, I really need a guy who's totally into kissing like me, because if you get a sexual guy, you know, they do kind of like do it, you know, if they're good at sex, they'll do X amount of other stuff and kissing and that, but there'll become a time where it's like, no, I want my sex time now, you know. That's fair. Which, you know, if you're having a relationship and you want to kind of like the sexual person to be sexually satisfied in terms of intercourse and you to be satisfied in terms of foreplay or kissing or whatever, then you kind of like, that's kind of a nice balance for both of you. If you're talking about compromising a relationship and you're on about like both of you like working together with having sex, right? But if you're someone like me, like, I just really want the kissing. Like, it's kind of like, it's my time now. It's like, I've really fed up with like having to like do the sex bit as well, because it's not really what I want. And I think like, if you get with someone who wants the sex as well, there'll come a time when it's like, no, that's enough kissing. Now's the time to have sex, because that's what it was like with my ex, you know, which, you know, like, he did tend to my needs a lot in that way before. So I was like, okay, we'll do that now. It's fine. Fine, as in the sense like, okay, I'm fine about it because like I've got my pleasure, but I always wanted more. It's like, I really want to stay kissing, you know, but I understood I couldn't, because it wouldn't have been fair at that point, I felt, you know. And you know, like, there's only so much you would probably do, and you've got to be careful, you know, like, that it's still a healthy relationship, because you can get people who withhold kissing and stuff like that so they can get the sex. You've got to be very careful of that, very wary of that type of thing as well. So, you know, for me, I just really, really want a guy who's into kissing, and that is what matters to him, you know, in terms of physicality. No, what matters to him most should be my personality and being with me as a person. That should be the most important thing, because at the end of the day, there might be times when you don't want to kiss. Just because I love kissing don't mean to say I want to kiss every single second of the day. There are some I don't. Like if I'm really hot and sweaty and I'm rushing somewhere and I'm feeling like all my body's like clothes are sticking to me, like I guess some sexuals would probably love that. But with me, I'm just like, can I just get out my clothes first? I'm feeling really uncomfortable here. Do you know what I mean? Like a certain scenarios, like for example, when I was rushing around, literally in one of the supermarkets tonight, I had 4 minutes to go around the supermarket, grab all my stuff, get to the checkout and check out. 4 minutes. It was 4 because I went to 2 supermarkets really late at night, and one was 4 minutes to 10. Because I said to the guy when he had a watch, I said, "What's the time?" He's like, "You got 4 minutes." I'm like, "Oh, sugar." And, okay. And then I went to the till. He's like, "Oh, you made it then?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I felt like a supermarket sweep. That's a game show, but I like but the game show usually pays for your shopping, not you. And so I feel like it's supermarket sweep, only I'm paying for my own shopping. I've completely gone off on a tangent again, but you know what I mean? It's just interesting, isn't it? So yeah, I think, you know, like you've got to really work out before you to get into a relationship what you actually want. And for me, I just would like the bliss and happiness of, you know, if I'm going to have the physical stuff, for it to be something I really enjoy, like a guy who loves kissing for a long 2 years of time. But like I was saying in the supermarket, when I'm rushing around for 4 minutes, it's not like I'm going to want to snog right at that minute. Maybe I would, ideally in the best case scenario, but I'm not going to actually want it in that moment, you know, because it's like I'm too hot, too sweaty. I'm thinking about getting food. I haven't got time to do that in those 4 minutes. Not that, I you know, if I challenged myself, maybe I could do that as well. But I'm trying to say there's times when I never like to say I don't want kissing because I always have to kiss. But, you know, there's times when it's not going to be good for me to kiss because I'm hot and sweaty and thinking about other stuff and in a rush, and it's not going to be such a pleasant experience. I'm digging myself a hole here, aren't I? Because I absolutely adore kissing. But there's times that I don't feel like kissing like I would usually. I'll say that, yeah. So there was also a time when I was walking on my own. That time I was walking down a quayside for like 2.5 hours. And that was such a long time. And I was really hot then. And the sun was burning me. And I was like, I wasn't feeling a good mood then. I was feeling a good mood because I'd done lots of walking. It was good for me. But had I had a guy there waiting to kiss me like a boyfriend, I would be thinking like, I'm just too hot and ugh. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather be sat on a bed doing that, really. So there are times when I don't want kissing and stuff, and that's why it's really important for anyone in a relationship as well to like personality, because you know, like things can change, circumstances. There's times when obviously the person you're with is not going to feel like kissing or doing certain things. You know, they just want to go chill by themselves or just to like talk to you. I mean, you know, like talking is one of the most important aspects of a relationship. You know, communication. Communication obviously covers talking and body language and mannerisms and tone of voice and all that lot. But you know what I mean? Like if someone's had a hard day at their work, they just want to talk to you usually and just offload and say, look, this is a really difficult day for me. This is what happened. That's what happened. They just want someone to understand them and be a shoulder that they can lean on, you know? And that's all what a relationship's about. It's not just about physical stuff, you know? With sexuals, they're very focused on the sexual attraction. They're so focused on that, which is why there's a lot of divorces, you know? Sexual incompatibility, but not just that. There's you know, communication skills is the number one reason usually why people get divorced. So lack of proper communication skills, lack of good communication skills, and they have money problems as well, issues, and then lack of sex as well. But you know, if people actually, instead of being sexually attracted and drawn in by sexual attraction, you know, the sexual people, they would be much better in a relationship that they had discussed, like asexuals do, about hobbies and interests and goals and like where you're going with the relationship. I mean, maybe you're an asexual that has not discussed that, and maybe that's where you're going wrong if you're on the dating scene. You know, you need to find out if you've got compatible life goals. It's no good like you wanting to move to Africa, for example, and the other person wanting to move to the UK, for example, or you know, like you living miles apart and no one's ever making an effort to actually come and move to the other person. It's not gonna really last. No one can have a relationship on the internet for absolutely ever. Not that I know of, you know, like be totally happy. I know some people have it for years. I know one guy who had it for nearly 5 years, and they split up in the end. because he couldn't get a visa, you know. So you know, don't be one of those people. But yeah, I think I've spoke quite enough tonight. But what, you know, like my point is that, you know, in terms of attraction, everyone's different, every asexual is different, and you can find someone hot if you're asexual without actually experiencing sexual attraction and without wanting to have sex with them. You know, because it means you find them so aesthetically pleasing that you just want to be close to them, whether that be kissing, cuddling, or other displays of physical affection, you know. I think it's very important that you know that, and I think it's important whatever person you come across to take it into complete context of what they're saying. Obviously, if all they're talking about is she's hot, he's hot, and that's what they're saying, and then for example on Facebook they've got everyone plastered all over their Facebook with their bums hanging out, their boobs hanging out, you know, they've hardly got any clothes, and it's a repeated pattern on their page, you know, they're less likely to be asexual, especially if you see on their profile. Me and Sam had someone apply to be our dating group, right? One of the dating groups we run. And, you know, when they applied, they'd done a test on their profile that said that they were heterosexual and not asexual. They did this test and it was like heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, or asexual. And it came out their test was 100% heterosexual. So we knew then, even though they'd applied to be in an asexual group and they were like very vague about where they fell on the spectrum, but they were implying they are part of the spectrum, we knew from actually looking through their profile before we just took someone on in the groups, because we're very good like that. We do try and vet people to a certain extent, you know. You know, we looked and realised that they weren't asexual. So I think you have to take everyone on their own merit. You know, you have to look at all the language. If they're saying, oh, that person's hot, I feel so horny, you know, I just can't wait to get into bed with them, and you know, like, and they're very focused around genitalia, sex, and you know, like scantily clad people, all that type of thing. You've just got to be aware that if you put all the pieces together, does the overall picture paint that they're not likely to be asexual? But again, we know we have to proceed with awareness that every asexual is different. There is different types of asexuals on the spectrum. We have to kind of use our intuition as well and experience to fathom if they are or not. Some people just clearly aren't asexual, and others, you know, you have to just give it time to understand. I mean, if you know me on this channel, you'll know that I'm definitely asexual, because I don't think like a sexual person, as in I don't look at someone and ever want sex with them. It just doesn't happen for me, you know. Even when I've been with heterosexuals, I'll be like, do I experience any sexual attraction right now? And it's like, nope, still don't, you know. Like, I kind of think, like, test myself, like, am I going to change into a demisexual, for example? Nope, I'm definitely not demisexual. I'm not grey asexual in the sense of I don't experience any sexual attraction, you know. Like, I can be kissing a guy for 3 hours and I experience no sexual attraction whatsoever. That's definitely asexual, you know. Like, most people can't kiss for 5 minutes without feeling sexual attraction. Do you know what I mean? If they're sexual, I just really can't. So anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you for now. Thank you so much for being here, Sam. I really appreciate you. Lots of love. You're my best friend, and I so appreciate you and love you as my best friend. Have a lovely time tomorrow, by the way. Today now. And yeah, thanks, vice versa. Thank you, Sam. And lots of love, Eddie. It's really nice that that you said about what you did, that you appreciate the support for you and your asexual girlfriend. I really appreciate that. And yeah, Eddie's not asexual, but his girlfriend is, by the way, in case you are new to this channel. Anyway, I want to remind you that if you haven't already clicked the thumbs up button, please do that if you like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that great big bell icon so you do get notified of when I instantly go live or post a new video. Thanks very much, Sam. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Lots of love. Bye.